entire body as just a giant pump, which is kind of what its guy is. And you have different muscles that are going to pull in different directions. So if something pulls, it's right here, and it's going to connect here, and it contracts. It's going to be flexion of the elbow. So think of the entire body as just a game of puppet strings, where each muscle is like a point where the puppet string connects. And so, you have a muscle that's way on the side of the pinky, and if that contracts and that shortens, what's likely to happen? Is it going to move inward or outward? Outward. And you can feel that. So go ahead, take your hand and flare your pinky out, but feel the meat of your pinky. You can feel it kind of stiffens up. That's because it's flexing. It's activating, it's contracting.
So, but wouldn't that be like, wouldn't we just say abducto for that instead of flex?
Well, it's true. So the actual muscle action is abduction of digit minimi, but when you say a muscle contraction, it's what is it doing?
Okay.
So if this muscle were to contract, what would it do? So activate it like a puppet. So if I'm pulling on this region, I'm going to pull the pinky that way, which we refer to as abduction, or taking away.
Okay.
So a lot of the muscles, don't think too hard about them. Understand where they are, possibly where they connect to. Like for example, this muscle right here, coracobrachialis. It means it's going from your shoulder to midline of. So anything with brachialis means it has either an end or an origin on the humerus. We refer to anything around the humerus as brachii. Brachial artery, brachialis, coracobrachialis. So let's take, for example, coracobrachialis, and try and think about what it does. So coracobrachialis, I'm not going to do this for all the muscles, but just to give you a general theme. So coracobrachialis effectively goes from the coracoid process, which is right here, to about the midline of your humerus. So think about it. If I have one puppet string here, one puppet string here, what's going to happen when that contracts?
Yeah. So this is your.
So it's gonna flex.
Flex what?
Flex the
Flex the elbow?
flex the humerus.
Well, the humerus is a solid bone, so you can't exactly flex the humerus.
Oh, okay.
You flex at a joint.
Okay, flex the.
You really got two options. What do you guys think? So it's flexing the
What's the shoulder joint?
shoulder. So you're flexing the shoulder. So the coracobrachialis, because it's going from the coracoid process to the humerus, that contracts, you're flexing the shoulder, which effectively just looks like, well, like
Okay.
So with a lot of the names, they're talking about the name usually starts with where it originates from, and the end part of the name is in reference to where it finishes. Take for example, flexor carpi ulnaris. So it's a flexor muscle that's going into your carpal bones on your ulnar side. Where's that going to be? This guy right there. It's a flexor because it's going to be in the anterior portion of your forearm. It's going into the carpal bone on the ulnar side, so let's call it a flexor going into the carpal bones on the ulnar side, or flexor carpi ulnaris. So you guys kind of understand like the naming conventions?
Mm-hmm.
So the other one she gives you, a lot of them are just going to be a dead giveaway. Like, what does the supinator do? First off, where is the supinator?
It's
That could be more. What is supination?
palms up.
Asking for soup. Simple as that. Soup. Supination. So if you can figure out supination, pronation's got to be the opposite. Pronation is just closing that up. Putting the lid on something. So supination, asking for soup. Pronation, putting the lid on it. Now, the supinator is this large muscle in the deep posterior group of your forearm. And what does it do? It's in the name. It just supinates. It doesn't do anything else but supinate.
Just supinating.
Yep.
That's it.
And same thing, when you hear muscles saying pronator teres or pronator quadratus, my God, all it's going to do is pronate. So a lot of these names will tell you what the muscle does. And if it doesn't directly tell you what it is, think about location. coracobrachialis. So it's going from your shoulder to midline of your arm, and so if that distance closes, it's gonna flex the shoulder.
So when you say like the pronator, would you just say that it pronates the arm, or would that be incorrect?
Pronation, supination is all in reference to the radius and ulna. The ulna, it's the weird one. It's not gonna move. The head's in the wrong place. It's got weird names for processes. The ulna is fixed, and when you pronate or supinate, it's talking about the radius moving over the ulna. The ulna doesn't move at all, so it's nothing to do with the arm, but it's all in reference to the forearm.
Okay.
So look at this. This is supination. That's pronation. For pronation, the ulna crosses over the radius crosses over the ulna. It sounds kind of weird, but it happens. So feel your elbow, because your elbow's connected to your ulna. It doesn't move at all. Isn't that weird? So the only thing that's moving is going to be on the front side of the radius. And hopefully what I'm saying kind of connects a couple dots. What we're learning so far. There's some new.
So pronator tear is one of these random ones.
Well, pronator teres. So you get, let's start off with the fresh body. So we got, hold on, let's get this guy real quick. Cool. So orientation is key. How do we separate?
Got the deltoid too.
So, when they give you a forearm, the first thing to look for is the cuboid fossa. Now, what's the cuboid fossa? Basically, it's the opposite of your elbow. So here's your elbow. Cuboid fossa is going to be in space right there. Now, to figure out which is which, because you can't just say the muscle to the left or the muscle to the right, because you got two limbs. You're going to have, right on one side could be, different on the other side. So understand that the smaller muscle in between the cuboid fossa, which is this kind of V shape in your forearm in your elbow, the smaller one is pronator teres. Now, when naming, pronator teres is going to be the first muscle in the flexor group. So here's your flexor group, because muscles on this side that contract, if things on this side shorten, it's going to flex the wrist, flex the fingers. So imagine that right now, imagine we have a muscle starting here and going to here. If that shortens, what's it going to do? If it shortens, it'll flex the wrist. Whereas if it's on the other side, and that happens, it'll pull that way. So think of everything as just a game of pulleys, hinges, puppets, whatever makes sense to it. Muscles are not going to have a function that's opposite to their rotation. So if you're on a side where there's a bunch of flexors, you're not going to have an extensor. It doesn't make sense. And there's an exception for that. I'll get to that as it comes. It's a really unique muscle. It's kind of cool. And it's a muscle in the hand. But so the muscles on your anterior side. Now, why is it called the anterior side? It's the anterior side because in the anatomical position, which is dead flat on the table, palms supinated, this is what's going to be on the anterior side. This is what's going to be on the posterior side. Because with your legs, it makes a lot of sense that your legs are always facing forward. You kind of easily rotate your hands and still have to feel kind of normal. So with the flexor group, first off, pronator teres. That's going to be close, putting the lid on things. Pronator teres. Then we have flexor. Where's this tendon going? It's going to the wrist. So it's going to be flexing at the carpal bones on what side? Yes, the radial side. So it's a flexor of the carpal bones on the radial side. So the proper name for it is flexor carpi radialis. Does that make sense? So pronator teres.
Flexor carpi radialis.
That's it. Now, if there's a radialis, there's got to be an ulnaris because you got two bones in your forearm. So we'll get to that. So we have pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis. Now this one's kind of odd. This is the one going straight down your hand. Now its name is palmaris longus, and its only function is not to clench your fist, but to actually just flex your wrist. And what's really interesting is that some people have it and some people don't. And in me, And in me, I have it in one arm and I don't have it in the other arm. How do you tell? Go ahead, make your fist, flex back. Now,
You'll be
look at
able to
mine.
see
So
it.
on this side, I have one tendon popping out. And on this side, I have 1, 2. If you have 2 tendons popping out, you have a palmaris longus. If just one, then you don't. So it's weird. It is.
So you cannot have.
I have it on one arm and I don't have it on the other arm.
Wait. Do I have 2 here and then 1?
Yep, you got 1, you got 2. So you're just like me. So here on this side, here on this side I have 2, and on that side I have 1.
So I just have 1 on each side or 2? Or is it?
You got 1. If you got 1 on each. So what does this mean? None of us are better or worse than each other. One arm is just as good as the other arm. They're pretty much equal. But what that means is that we don't necessarily need the palmaris longus. We can do without it. My right arm is totally fine not having it. The left arm is no better off. But what does that do? All it does is flex the wrist. Now, it's not unique in any way because the other muscles coming through here, for the most part, they're all gonna be flexing the wrist. Anything that's gonna go through here in some way will flex the wrist. And so having this extra muscle says, hey guys, I'm just gonna try to flex the wrist. Don't worry about it. We already got it under control. We don't need you here. Which is what my right arm said and my left arm didn't say. The left arm has them there, the right arm doesn't have them.
That's so weird.
Now, is this of any clinical importance? Yeah, it is. So, this is a specific injury primarily aimed at baseball players. Now, it's called Tommy Johnson. Now, what Tommy John is, has to do with your shoulder joint and your shoulder socket. So, take for instance your hip. Your hip is really locked in place in that acetabular. The head of the femur is really locked in place, and so it's pretty tight. You can go forward and back, but things are pretty stable. Now your shoulder is just a short, small little valley. It's very unstable. You hear people dislocating their shoulder all the time. Now, for a baseball player to be going forward, quickly whipping back, you're putting a lot of extra tension on that shoulder joint, and it's really easy to tear things. Now, if you tear things, you oftentimes tear one of the tendons that create your rotator cuff, which is your shoulder socket. Now, if you tear one of those tendons, you need to get surgery, just like you would if you tore your ACL. And it's called a Tommy John syndrome. And the Tommy John surgery is how to resolve that issue. And typically, when you get a tendon replacement, I don't want your tendon, I want my own tendon. Because if I take your tendon, my body might reject it based on antibodies, which is something you guys will learn more about in histology and physiology classes, but not now. So what doctor will do is you need to take a tendon from somewhere of similar size, and what they'll do is see if they have palmaris longus, cut that out, and they'll use it as the tendon in my shoulder.
Ah.
Simple as that. That's palmaris longus for you. And that'll be on the anterior side, smack dab in the middle, and its only job, flex the wrist, or you can use it for surgery.
If they don't have it on either, can they still use someone else?
You could use someone else, but the likelihood of it rejecting it is higher because if I use something that's already in my body will always accept it. And so they usually look to the patient first when they're looking for transplants. Like my sister, she tore her ACL. She didn't get a cadaver ACL or anything. She got a piece of tendon taken out from her hamstring. Yeah. And so what's kind of interesting is that they carried the nerve with her hamstring into the ACL, which I don't know exactly how they did it, but she said she had to retrain herself how to walk because the muscles for bending in the knee ended up kind of being transposed into ACL, so it kind of became kind of different for her to walk on that leg. Yeah, science is really, really cool. So on the anterior side, and the anterior side is going to be all
Flexor.
You got it. So starting off, we have boom, small guy. Without looking at your list, I know you got this.
Oh, that was the. Oh God, we just did that.
You just did it. So you got one supinator and you got two.
Pronators.
All right, so it's a pronator. Which one is it?
Pronator teres. Mine.
Pronator teres. Now we'll find the other pronators soon, and it's a really good giveaway. But I'll show you guys shortly. So this is pronator teres. It's a
Flexor digit.
Hold on, where's it going? You're on the right track. But so it's a flexor because it's on the anterior portion. Flexor.
Radialis.
You all saying a piece all together.
Flexor radialis. Oh, flexor carpi
radialis. And so.
If we were to write carpal, would we? That's why I always like.
You know, because here's things like when we grade your test, like we're like, Dr. Crow, can I accept that? And she's like, it's just you're much better off getting it dead on and saying, you know, Dr. Crow, I'm getting this. I'm getting 100 on this next test, and I know it. So it's carpi.
Okay.
Now you have 4 carpies. You got 2 flexors, flexor carpi radialis, flexor carpi ulnaris, and conversely, actually you got more. I think you have 5. You have extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis, and extensor carpi ulnaris. So you actually have 5 of those muscles that act right on the carpal bones. 3 for the extensors, which we'll get to, and 2 for the flexors.
This one's something?
Yep, but we'll get there. So first off, we have, real quick,
Pronator teres. Flexor carpi radialis.
yeah, because you know what's going to be in the carpal bone on the radial side. So this is pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis, like you said.
Palmaris longus.
And then so you have the flexor carpi radialis on this side. So if we move over to the ulnar side, same story. It's going to be the flexor carpi
ulnaris.
Simple as that. Now what about this guy?
This one you said?
Yep. Because look where it's going. It's going to be on the anterior portion. And it's a flexor because it's on the anterior portion. And look where the tendon's going. So the tendon will go to the wrist. And the wrist is made up of carpal bones. You know, scaphoid, luminate, hamate, pisiform, those kind of bones, which we can go over at the end of this period. But it's going into the carpal bones, and it's on the ulnar side. So flexor, carpi, ulnaris.
Okay, so that has the carpi in it too.
Yeah, yeah. Your squad leaving? Okay, cool. Hey, how much have you gone over so far? Sweet, right on. So you can help us a little bit. So we said that we have pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis, palmaris longus, which is used for what surgery?
Achilles. No.
John, something.
No.
John.
Tommy John.
Tommy John. The shoulder.
Yep. And this is the.
Flexor carpi ulnaris.
So like we said, so there's of the carpal bones, there's going to be 5 muscles pretty much anchored into them. There's going to be 2 on the flexor side, which is the anterior portion. You have flexor carpi radialis and flexor carpi ulnaris. Now it gets a little dicey when you get to the extensor side, which we're going to talk about in a minute. You have 2 for the radial side, a longus and a brevis, and 1 for the ulnar side. But sticking with what we're on track with, we have pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis, palmaris longus. Yep. Now, when you say someone is superficial, what are some traits about them? On the surface, shallow, not deep, not very profound, don't like to talk about big ideas, just kind of like what's kind of in the news, that's superficial. So, this low life that's hanging out right underneath palmaris longus and flexor carpi radialis is going to be flexor digitorum superficialis. Cool?
Is it in between these two?
Well, it's not in between. It's beneath.
It's beneath.
It's shallow. It's got to be
That
shallow.
That one sits on top. The palmaris
You know,
sits on top of
it's 2 parts of the name. But the palmaris. Exactly.
What?
Yeah.
palmaris longus sits on top of
And
the
it's used for what surgery?
Tommy John.
Tommy John surgery.
There you go.
Is that going to be the extra credit question?
Probably not.
Well, that would be funny if they had it.
It would.
Wouldn't that be? That would be funny to write that down,
Listen
though.
to her, maybe she can swing.
What does it do? What do you do with it? Well, you
I
can.
got you. So, I don't know if you guys work well with acronyms or mnemonics or whatever, but if we were to do it, P, Purple Frogs Play Ultimate Sports. P. Pronator teres. Frogs. Flexor carpi radialis. Purple frogs. Play. Palmaris. Plays palmaris. Ulnaris is ultimate. And superficialis is going to be sports. So this is going to be down below between palmaris longus and flexor carpi radialis is flexor digitorum superficialis. Now, you know we talked about if there's a inferior, there's got to be a superior. If there's an anterior, there's got to be a posterior. Well, we have a superficial, so there's got to be another name for deep. And so when you call someone that has like a really deep thought, you say that was a really profound thought. That was really deep. That was a big thought. And Adams didn't think too much when he thought about that either. Beneath this flexor digitorum superficialis, which is this low left kind of hanging out down low, in the middle, flexor digitorum profundus. Profound. It's big, it's large, and it's deep. Flexor digitorum profundus. Is that working?
Yeah, that's great.
And so we open up the lid to this hatch on the anterior portion. Now, what do we have in the deep section? Lift it up, because you guys already know the anterior portion. We have
The flexor digitorum profundus.
awesome. What about this guy? Just as a general theme, where do you think it's going? It's going on the thumb side, so what do we name things that are related to the thumb? We give them the name pollicis. So, and this is flexor pollicis longus, and we'll get to it, but the flexor pollicis brevis is actually right on the thumb itself. We'll get there though. So this long section, which is going to be in the deep anterior portion, which is composed of flexors. So most of these muscles in their name have flexors. You know, palmaris longus or like flexor digitorum superficial and flexor digitorum profundus. This is going to be flexor pollicis longus. Cool?
Good.
Right on. So that is pretty much all you got to know for the anterior portion of your forearm.
This is just the flexor retinaculum, right?
You know, why is that? Because it's a retinaculum, and what tendons are going through there is what's going to determine the name. It's on this side, and it's passing through. These are all extensors, so we're going to name it the...
Extensor
And the opposite is true
retinaculum.
for this. Now, I don't know how you guys are on time, but if you guys want to learn about carpal tunnel syndrome real quick.
Sure.
Cool. Do you know anyone that's had carpal tunnel syndrome?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who's had it? So you're just going on. So, you learn the bones of the hand. Remember, we have the carpal bones, the metacarpal, and then your phalanges. Check. Now you can see right here, this hamate kind of makes a hook. And then also, hold on, wait a minute.
Will she take them on?
Could be either side. Could be absolutely either side. So it's important that you know them both forward, forward, back, upside down, left, right, wrong, forward. Doesn't matter. You gotta know them all. So the hamate and then the trapezoid, I believe. Hey Luke. Trapezoid and trapezius.
Trapezoid here.
Hold on.
Trapezoid in
Sweet. So the carpal tunnel will be composed of the hamate bone, which makes this hook shape, and the trapezius. You can kind of see it if you guys kind of get in close. That it makes this kind of little archway. So there's a peak and there's a peak. Now what the flexor retinaculum does is imagine my pencil is the flexor retinaculum and it's going to hang out right on top. Now what that does is a couple things. It's good because it creates a better fulcrum for flexing your wrist or moving your fingers. Because like I said before, without retinaculum, you see my palmaris longus kind of popping out a little bit. It pop out significantly more up throughout my entire hand because there's nothing holding it down. So that's what's good about flexor retinaculum. What's bad, that's a really small space. What do you have going through there? You got muscles, you have tendons, you have arteries, nerves, veins, all passing through there. Now what happens if you're a professional gamer, someone that texts a lot, someone that types a lot on the computer? Your tendons and muscles get inflamed, and it can compress on the nerves in there, and when you get what they call carpal tunnel syndrome, you effectively cut off either blood supply or nerve supply to the hand. And at best, your hand is temporarily paralyzed. At worst, you lose blood flow and you have to get your hand amputated. Not good. Now you see people at the gym and they use those muscles a lot and they get big. They don't just suddenly shrink in size. It takes a couple of weeks for it to go down. Now this is a medical emergency. Like your hand is essentially suffocating. So what do doctors do? For carpal tunnel syndrome, the surgery for it, what they'll do
Cut the breath ticking out.
well, you can't cut it entirely because if you cut that, then you lose a lot of the function. What they'll do is they'll make small micro incisions along the way. Kind of give the muscles in there a little room to kind of breathe. And they'll typically keep you in a brace so you don't use those muscles as much to let them kind of atrophy and get smaller in size. Now, that's all caused by the flexor retinaculum. You're not going to forget that. Any questions so far? This stuff can be kind of dry, so I kind of try and throw things in every once in a while.
I know that's
No,
what
I
makes
like
it.
it.
That's
Yeah,
what makes it
helps you
interesting.
remember. It makes it,
It
more
does, yeah.
memorable.
That's how I remember it.
Good.
And if I forget something, I mean, you know, I mean, I obviously listen, but I always keep this. But then if I forget something, then I go over
You
it.
got,
and
you got a couple different,
Ways to
getting the answer
remember.
right is like finding the lock, and you got to find the
Yeah.
right key. But if you have all these different ways to kind of figure it out, whether it be, well, I know pulmonaris longus is not found in all people. I know pulmonaris longus is used for Tommy John syndrome. You have a bunch of different keys that will work on that same lock to help you get that answer.
And I really like acronyms because it helps learn it first.
Okay,
I
yeah.
really like just learning the exact muscle.
Exactly.
I don't like having to follow.
And that's the tough part about being a TA is because everyone has their own different learning styles, and so we try and give as many different styles as we can.
Yeah, it's